What up, nerds? My name is Clay Cooper, and I am the Director of Test Prep at Prep Expert. I'm also a perfect scorer on both the SAT and the ACT. And today, I want to share with you my 5 best tips for the SAT's math sections. So the 5 tips that I'll share with you in this video are, first, do not over-rely on your calculator. Second of all, make sure that you know what's on the test. Third, keep your priorities straight as you study. Fourth, use the practice, learn approach to studying. And fifth, never let yourself call a missed question a stupid mistake. We'll take each of these one by one. So the first tip that I want to share with you is by far the most important. It is, do not over-rely on your calculator. Now, I have a hard time getting my students to really practice this, but I'll tell you what, I can tell how serious a student is about raising their SAT score by how good a job they do of setting their calculator aside as they study. Students who are always on their calculator are not serious about raising their SAT score. That's the bottom line. Students who are serious about raising their SAT score put the calculator aside when they study. They only use it for pure calculations. So let me say that again. You should only use your calculator on the SAT, both as you practice and as you take the real thing, when you're doing a pure calculation. When you are adding, multiplying, dividing, subtracting, finding a square root, or squaring something. You can also find other roots or cube something if you need to with a calculator. But that is all you should be doing with your calculator. And I'm serious about that. It's really important that you take that to heart. Let me explain briefly why that is. First of all, keep in mind as I explain this that I don't care about you actually learning the underlying concepts like your high school math teachers do, right? So if your high school math teachers tell you don't use your calculator and you disbelieve them, I get it. But keep in mind, all I want for you is the highest SAT score you can get. So if I'm telling you not to over-rely on your calculator, that's because over-relying on your calculator will hurt your SAT score. And again, here's why. Think about this. Do colleges need to know if you're good with a calculator? No. They need to know if you understand math. So with that in mind, the SAT is very carefully designed by an army of nerds so that you cannot beat it with a calculator. No matter how good you are on a calculator, it's not going to help you much on the SAT. So you shouldn't try to use it too much. You can, again, do pure calculations. If you have to multiply 17 and 14, please use your calculator. If you have to divide 0.6 into 85, please use your calculator. If you have to cube 14, please use your calculator. But for nothing else should you use your calculator. Instead of using your calculator on other questions, focus on learning the underlying concepts. That's the flexible understanding that the SAT is trying to test, and that'll make your score go up. My second tip for the SAT math section is going to seem really simple, but I find that a lot of people overlook it, and that is this. Make sure that you know what is actually tested in the SAT math sections. Here's what I mean by that. There is no calculus on the SAT. There isn't really even pre-calculus. There's not much trigonometry. There's some geometry, but not too much. There's no statistics. You'll need to know a few attributes of a data set, but no advanced statistics. So you need to make sure that you know what is and what is not on the SAT so that you don't waste time as you're studying. You want to focus all your time and energy on what you know will show up on the test and set aside anything that isn't going to be on it. My third tip is closely related to the second tip, and it is keep your priorities straight as you study. Here's what I mean by that. Different concepts and problem types show up with different frequencies in the SAT math sections. So for instance, word problems, systems of equations problems, these are really, really frequently tested. They show up all over both sections of math on the SAT. Contrast that with trigonometry. Trigonometry is really rare. Yeah, it shows up on the SAT occasionally, but at most it'll be 1 or 2 problems in your math sections. So which do you want to spend more time studying? Each question's worth the same number of points. So should you study systems of equations questions that you know will be all over the test, or trigonometry questions, which might be a small part of the test? Systems of equations, definitely. That's what I mean by keeping your priorities straight. Focus on the biggest, most frequently tested, most important concepts that you know are going to show up on the test, and set aside stuff that's not as important until you've mastered the most important parts. So my fourth tip is to use the practice, learn approach as you study. Here's what I mean by that. Your studying should be characterized by taking practice tests and then looking at your results and then learning the things that you need to learn to pick up points on the test. I have students who neglect each step of that process. I have students who don't test enough, and I really have a lot of students who don't learn enough. All they do is practice. But what your procedure should look like if you really want to raise your score as much as possible is to frequently take practice tests and to make sure that between practice tests you spend time actually learning the things that are causing you to miss questions. If you practice and then learn, practice and then learn, that's a recipe for success. That can't help but raise your score. My final tip is to keep in mind that there is no such thing as a stupid mistake on the SAT math section. I can't tell you guys how many times I have been working with a student and we're looking at a problem that they missed and the student tells me, oh, well, that was just a stupid mistake. And what a student typically means by that, I think, is something along the lines of, I'm not really worried about that question. I think I'll get it right on test day. But I'm here to tell you guys, stupid mistakes don't go away on their own. They hang around. So you should forget about them. Don't ever let yourself write off a question that you missed as a stupid mistake. Instead, be really intensive about looking at it and saying, hey, why did I miss that? I can call it a stupid mistake, but that's kind of a cop-out. If I want to raise my SAT score, I need to get in there and figure out what I did wrong. Even if I just dropped a negative sign, you might be tempted to call that a stupid mistake, and maybe it even is. But if you want to raise your SAT score, you can't afford to think about it that way. You've got to figure out why you dropped the negative sign. How can you prevent it on test day? That's the real question. You can't prevent it on test day by calling it a stupid mistake. So those are my 5 best tips for the SAT's math section. Please don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful. You can also subscribe to Prep Expert's YouTube channel for other videos similar to this one. In fact, we'd like you to leave a comment on this video to tell us what you'd like to hear about in our next video. We might feature your comment as the topic of our next video. So what do you want advice on from a 2-time perfect scorer? Let us know. Please also visit our website using the link below. On our website, you'll find exclusive offers on all of our courses and tutoring. You can sign up for a course with myself or one of our other instructors, or tutoring if you'd prefer that. So until next time, keep working hard.